then my life changed forever.
Everybody was talking about that movie.
Don't be afraid to say what you want to say. Just do it.
This April that you had a stroke, right?
I can show other survivors that you can still do things like being on this podcast.
But I speak broken English.
So this is a real test for me.
I get more hated comment than good comments.
This critique part is for you to learn.
Alright, so welcome to Be Frank Podcast. Today's episode 11. We have Shawn Barfield. He is artist in emotional culture, religion, and then I would like to talk about a lot about the filmmaking and religion stuff. And then he had a stroke this April, and then he's recovering. And then we would like to talk about that. Welcome to the show.
I'm excited. Thank you, Yosuke.
No worries. Would you introduce yourself to our listeners?
My name is Shawn Barfield. I'm an artist from Norman, and I'm trying to start a podcast for philosophy and emotions and art.
Awesome. So then, we go back, and then I think that 2013, you made a movie called Dancing in the Chamber. Why I was just getting into a film school in Oklahoma City Community College, like we were talking about before. It was shot on red, and it was like everybody was talking about that movies, and then it was like a period piece, and then it was so cinematic and the Hollywood quality. It inspired me to be doing stuff at that very, very high level, and it's inspired me to pursue the filmmaking. So it was great. Can you kind of tell me about how did you come up with that Dancing in the Chamber concept, and then also how did you made that quality movies?
So the story is, I was doing research on the Holocaust, not because of movies, but just because. And I found the story on the internet. I liked the story, so I thought, okay, I'll try this for capstone. And I told my wife, I said, you think we can do this, or is it too hard? And because I like to run it by her, because she's more real with reality. She just says that's too hard, or that we can do that. So she said, go ahead and try. So I went ahead and tried to do it. But the idea was, I knew it was for capstone, so I wanted to go as hard as I can, because this is my chance that OCCC has so much gear, and the idea is to make a good product I can be proud of. This is my chance, so I thought I'll just take a semester ahead of time to write, and I wrote for a long time and got a script to where I want, and then I started working with the professors about building sets, and they helped me refurbish the sets they have. And then I started communicating with different people who want to help. And
did you have a budget in that movie?
I think it was less than $10,000.
Less than $10,000?
Yeah, I think so.
And then those people who are student film makes a not really good quality, right? We both watched so many student films, right? What is your best advice to the students that can make high quality movies?
Sure. My thoughts are story first. Make sure it's easy to just write something and be happy with it, but run it by your friends and family, and just make sure you we're about to put a whole lot of energy into this project. So make sure it's good first.
Do you like that showing the friends and family like a script and stuff?
I mean, people that you trust to be honest with you. I think that's the main thing. You want to have people who will be honest with you. To say this is too slow or whatever. Somebody who can critique you in an honest way. And so that's helpful because people want to hear all the good things about stuff. That doesn't make the project better. You need to hear what's wrong and fix that. So critique is important. Get used to critique. Don't be afraid of it.
Yeah, I do have a hard time listening to figure out what's a good critiques. I mean, like constructive criticism is a kind of the things that people talk about, right? But like sometimes whenever I do a marketing for a lot of different clients, and then some clients has like friends or like wife or family member, they critique our work to be like not good or whatever. I'm pretty sure your wife can relate to that. It's kind of like whenever you're working in the advertising agency, advertising world, and the marketing, and you're working for clients, it's not like making a movie for. It's a movie too, but like it's kind of like if you're making art, if you're making a creative piece, and then somebody's pay for it, and then you have to listen to feedback. But it's like obviously like when the clients like family of those kind of say, oh, this is not good, here's this, but they hired us for professional in our eyes and creative, right? So like where I have sometimes a hard time of like, okay, sometimes like you have to listen to critique, but like you have to like sell the idea. That's a part of the job. Like what do you say to the people that like the critique and then feedback? What will make the good feedback, good critiques, if that makes sense?
I think so. For me, it's about first having real sense of self, what you want to say. In Tension and Chamber, I had a real sense of what I want to say. And then the critique part is making adjustments to the idea until it feels right. So the critique part is for you to learn and say, I see what he means or what she means, and I agree, and I'll change that. Or you don't agree, and you don't change.
Right.
So just have an open mind to other artists and be ready to change, because we make things too precious. Like this shot is too precious to me. You shouldn't think in terms of the one shot. Be thinking about the whole project. Does that shot help or make things worse? So just being honest with self is hard.
Yeah, being honest to yourself and as an artist, it's ego, right? Big part of the ego is hard. And then I was very very impressed with about what you did as a student film. Also, like it was very professional, and then everybody was talking about, and then so I was very impressed. But like, can you tell me? We just go back on this April that you had a stroke, right?
Yeah.
So can you kind of tell me about that?
Sure. So I was 5 years into a job at the Culture Heritage Center. God, that's hard to say. Citizen part of my Culture Heritage Center, anyways. 5 years into that, and I was coming home from work, and there was a small car accident, and I got nervous and started. 2 hours later, my speech was going downhill, and the next morning, I couldn't walk. Sorry. And my wife helped me to the car, and she took me to much room, and then my life changed forever. Now 7 months later, I'm struggling to talk, obviously, and my hand is not as good as it used to be. So my ability to do art is gone for a little while. And then my walking is not so great, so I have to basically start over, really relearn to walk, relearn to draw, relearn to use mouse. So in these 7 months, I've been watching different videos about stroke survivors, and I've been real inspired to make sure I have a good recovery so I can show other survivors that you can still do things. Like being on this podcast is a big thing for me because I haven't done any public speaking since stroke. So this is a real test for me to see if I can do this. So I appreciate this.
Well, thank you for coming out. I mean, like, I do respect so much about that, people talk about that stuff, and they're also like going through the hard time, and then that builds character. And I think that everybody go through hard times, but honestly, that I have my friend that had a motorcycle accident in Thailand, and then he was in coma for 3 months, and then he couldn't talk, and I remember he FaceTimed me, and then I didn't know what he was saying, and then also I was talking to him like, I'm glad you're alive and all that kind of stuff, and then he came back. He was like telling me like, well, did you call me? Like he didn't even know I called him, and he talked and all that kind of stuff, and then now like his memory is coming back and all that kind of stuff, and then like he sends me a video about lifting weights and recovery process. I mean, it's slow,
inspiring.
Yeah, but it's like very like encouraging to me, because like a lot of people make an excuse to even like go to gym, or like a lot of people have an excuse to even start a podcast or doing anything. They say they're too busy, but they are capable. But a lot of people who went through those hard times, and then they try to get better, and then try to do more than normal people. I mean, like you try to start a podcast, being on here, and then I can't tell you how many people say they want to be on the podcast, they never come through,
Yeah.
So I have so much respect for that.
Yes, it's scary stuff. First thing is, I never want to be podcast until recently. So, of course, after the stroke, I decided to do podcast once I can't talk good. So that's rough, but I'm just going forward with what I think I want to do. So the idea is I'll get better over time.
Yeah. So what is like a rehab? What is this like a recovery process look like?
Yeah. This process started in the hospital. They have a rehab facility, so they practice with me to walk and to talk. They have speech therapists.
How's that work? Like speech therapist?
The speech therapist will basically, the idea is your mouth muscles are slow or to respond. So you got to practice your tongue and your mouth to move faster and do a lot of weird things like push your tongue out and move this way like this a lot, and just basically rebuild the connections to your brain. So it's a lot of little weird stuff like tongue exercises and breathing exercises. So
You were saying that you couldn't move the right hand at all, right?
Yeah, when I got there, all I could do just this finger like that. But by now, I can move my arm. I still got a few more sessions to get more strength to my arm. But I feel good, like in terms of how the process is going. At first, when I went into the first week, I was thinking, oh man, I'll never get my arm back, or my walking back, or my talking back. I was scared, but then it came back faster than thought in some ways, but some things are still slow, but I'm happy with the progress.
Perfect. So is that like so they give you like an exercise and so you pretty much have to like push the pain point, or like how's that?
Here's what happens. There's experiment in OU. They basically, if to put it in layman's terms, they put the jumper cables on my head and they shock the part of my brain that is building new connections, and they shock that part of the brain, and then my arm works better. For 20 minutes, they let the charge run through my brain, and then after that, have maybe 5% or 10% better with my arm each time. So it's cool to think about how they can just pinpoint a part of the brain and make it work better.
Is that like they shock you like electro?
Yeah, there is a slight tingle or burn, heat, warm. It feels a little bit warm, but it targets a part of your brain. So the part that's damaged, of course, there's no connection, so your brain has to go around, find a new path.
Gotcha.
So that part of the brain that's getting a new path, they shock it until it wakes up, sort of.
Gotcha.
So it's cool to, every time I go, to have a little more movement.
So you saying like when you had a stroke and you couldn't move your arm and all that kind of stuff, and then you were scared of like maybe move or like walk again, and then you were saying that you watch a lot of videos about that stuff, right? Like what kind of things you did to change your mindset?
Well, the first thing was I was very terrified that I'll never draw again, because that's something I truly love. So I was scared, but I watched a lot of videos about stroke recovery and saw other artists who were drawing and doing art after stroke and playing music and all kinds of things. I was thinking, if they can do that at 80 years old or 70 years old, I can do that at 40 years old. And so I just focused on all the stories of recovery and just thinking to myself, I can get there. I'm not scared. I can do this.
That's awesome.
The same with your fighting stuff also inspired me.
Oh, awesome.
So I know also did martial arts when I was young. And I liked Bruce Lee was my main philosopher growing up. And so his teachings on how to stay focused and push for a goal, that's what I'm trying to do, is to stay positive and stay focused.
Awesome. So you are going to start a podcast about art and then culture, and then you're talking about how art and culture is connected.
Yeah.
You kind of want to talk about that?
Sure.
A little bit?
My podcast is Team Spirit Art House. And the idea is to explain art and culture, how it affects society. So, what we think, and how we feel, value systems. What do we value? Do you value health, or do you value going to war, or do you value community? Or so we get trained in values our whole lives, from day one till now. Every day we get trained to communication, through different types of communication, language, also art and music, all the different ways we communicate. Communication is the passing of emotions. So I have an idea, I want to pass that idea to you. I do use my emotions to send to you, and you send back your response. And that's an emotional situation. Through talking, to singing, to drawing, all those things are ways to emote. And so that forms an emotional structure. And we all know this stuff. What we call cult just means a community has a certain culture, a certain emotional structure. And so there's a lot of podcasts talking about cults and culture, and I want to get in on that conversation. I think for me, anthropology is I wish I would have gone to school for anthropology.
I'm never too late, right?
Yeah, I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah.
But anthropology is my thing now. I still like film and stuff, but I want to not having this stroke makes me think, how many years do I really have to say what I want to say? Maybe 5 years, maybe 1 year, maybe 10 years, who knows? I might die tomorrow. So I want to get my thoughts out before I die. So I want to focus on that for a while.
So what is that favorite type of your art?
My thing I like to do personally is drawing and 3D animation.
No, I kind of meant to I guess what is most inspiration you get from a culture, I guess. There's a Greek culture, European culture, what is most are you into?
Gotcha. My thing is, I grew up in the Bible Belt, so I was trained on Judeo-Christian culture, and so that's my go-to place for start point to talk about culture. But also also worked in a Native American culture too. So I've experienced Christian culture, Jewish culture, Native American culture, and all those different types of culture I've experienced. They all have art rituals. So we did this song, we did this food, we did this language, and there's a sense of community formed, like Native American community, Jewish community. They form things through art rituals. They form a community sense of community through art and art rituals. So art and art rituals are very important to. For instance, we're about to go through Christmas. People have strong feelings about Christmas, and that the feelings are a good thing for humans. To feel strongly about things that helps to push things forward in progress, to be motivated.
Got you. So, do you think that so like it's I'm just kind of curious now, like chicken and egg situation, right? Like for where chicken comes first or egg comes first, right? So do you think that let's say even like Christian community, that do you think that do you think the Christian culture came first, or do you think that Christian like art of like like Jesus and Mary Jane and all that kind of stuff, and then like that they have all those arts, right? Do you think that came first? Like, what do you?
Sure. Well, that's a complex issue, but I would say if you want to talk about what comes first, the art or the culture, I would say simultaneous. So, if I start a band and I decide we're gonna wear black clothes, and so such puts on the clothes, and we wear this earring, and we said this thing. So you build a language and wardrobe, and those things grow together. So the culture and the religion develops at the same time as new people step in to bring new things into the culture. The culture adapts to that new thought process.
Got you. So I do ask this question, and then that reason I'm having this. I do ask this question to every guest we have, and then the reason I started this podcast is that 5 years ago myself that I was in a dark place, and then I watched a lot of YouTube videos, and then I got an inspiration. I got like fitness tips, and also like how to deal with anxiety and depressions and all kinds of thoughts of stuff. Then 5 years after, like I'm doing a little bit better. I'm still growing as a human, but
Sure.
I think that I'm capable of giving advice to myself in the 5 years ago.
Right.
So what would you? This is gonna be 2017. It would be 5 years ago. What were you doing 5 years ago?
I was starting work at a Citizen Power Nation.
Oh, got you. What would you give yourself advice 5 years ago?
Don't silence yourself to make others happy. So when I did Long Breath, a project I started about 5 years ago, it was a monomyth. Have you heard of that? Monomyth, like Star Wars and Avatar, telling a story about Empire and Rebels. So in that process, I was scared to say what I wanted to say. I was scared to say things or do things that I should have done from the beginning, because I was scared to do what I want. But if I had just done it from the start, I would have been done with the project. But because of my fear, I couldn't do what I want to. I failed to complete the project because of fear. So I'm trying to, if I were going to tell myself something, then it'd be, don't be afraid to say what you want to say. Just do it.
Nice. What about that? How do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully, well, I want to, of course, start a podcast, and also maybe do freelance stuff for 3D. I want to do 3D stuff and also make my own videos. So I'm hopeful but cautious, because I want to be hopeful for what I got from me, for myself, for my family, but I also want to be real in terms of what can I really get done. And that's tricky to aim for high goals and also to not get scared or let yourself down.
Yeah.
So my thing is just keep going, even if other people don't like what you're doing. You got to make yourself happy.
Yeah. For sure. I mean, even online, right? I mean, if you want to put it on a podcast, and when you do, and then like I put it on video online and putting myself out there, and then like doing podcasts and then putting in shorts videos and online, and there's like so many hated comment goes on. It's just like, it's crazy to me how much like I get more hated comment than like good comments, but I get a lot of likes and stuff, but like people doesn't really. It's so funny to me how much people take time to comment bad things, and then but I just appreciate people watching, and first of all, and then taking time to comment some negative things, right? But honestly, I do have a good time making these videos, and then having a good time, and then meeting podcasts and meeting people, and then like learning a lot of things, and then as long as you're happy and as long as you keep growing, and then who cares what other people think.
I know the main thing I want to do with my podcast is learn. I think it's cool to talk about things and to learn. So the learning part is the part I'm excited about.
I mean, honestly, like I know you have your wife here today, and then like how was like recovering process? I'm pretty sure your wife was a big part of it, and like you wanna talk about how that marriage and all that kind of stuff.
So my wife Mel, she's been amazing through this process. She has to drive me to different therapies and to doctors, and so without her, I'll be gone for sure. So I'm very grateful for my wife. She's very helpful, and she's putting up with so much bullshit that comes with this. So I'm very thankful.
That's awesome. I mean that I didn't really know the intense of that your situation that you say you needed to get it right and all that kind of stuff. I wasn't sure, but I'm glad you came to talk to me about it. And then I would like to ask that what is that I think I don't know. Like you're saying that you got inspiration from other, right? Like
Yeah.
from watching videos and
Right.
stuff. Like what if people right now watching where they were like where you were in April, like what would you tell them? What can you tell them like when if people had accident or something and then have in your situation, what advice or what kind of things can you say to them?
I would say if you're faced with something like this, with life-changing event, just breathe and calm down. Just focus on staying positive. Because if I didn't focus on staying positive, I would have got depressed and give up. Because that was very easy to just give up. I want to give up and just say, okay, I'm done. This is too hard. So, if you hear that voice, just silence that voice and push a voice of, gonna get through this.
Right. I mean, it's easier to say than done, right? To be, because like I go through a lot of stuff and like a lot of people go through stuff and then like people say stay positive, right? Like what did you do to stay positive?
Sure, my process was one, watching YouTube videos with the same problem. So, learning from other people with the same problem is a good way to get through. So, watching other people get through their strokes and do their art was very inspiring for me to say, okay, if she can do that at 60 years old and get all their movement back, I can do that too. So I think watching for motivation that way is one of the best things. And then the second thing is just go ahead and do it even if you don't feel like it at first.
Right.
Just push through. So push-ups were my first thing I was excited about. I did my first 10 push-ups maybe a week ago,
That's awesome.
and
There's a lot of my employees like we do every Friday try to do like a push up like I'm trying to get them in the fit and then some of them can't do 10 push ups, That is very inspiring. How do you feel that like after you do 10 push up?
well, I'm just very glad that I can do any one of them.
Yeah.
So I got through 10 of them, and I thought to myself, I'll get full back eventually. So I feel confident to stay on target.
Awesome. Um I'm very like honestly like you're saying about just doing and like watching other people going through like from my problem and then also like my fear of starting this podcast is that I'm pretty sure you can hear this but I speak broken English and I don't pronounce every word correctly or whatever and I had fear of people judging me doing the podcast or doing the YouTube and then because I don't speak perfectly and then I waited so long because I thought I wanted to start a YouTube channel or podcast. Maybe I've been saying that maybe like almost 3 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, maybe after like 5 years or 10 years, like my English will probably be perfect. And then when that when my English my English gets better, then I'll start a podcast. And then now like I speak this much, right? And then it's not perfect. And then also the best advice I got from the video I was watching and people starting YouTube is that or podcast is that first 100 podcasts or first 100 YouTube video you make, nobody's gonna watch it.
Right.
So who cares, right?
Yeah.
And then when you make first podcast, whenever you make first 100 YouTube videos, and then you're gonna get better, and then people are gonna start watching it. So you might as well start now to be suck at it, and then you will get better eventually, and then people start watching it. So either way you have to start, and then 5 years later you're gonna nobody's gonna watch the first 100. So that's the kind of the like advice I got from, and then that kind of inspired me to actually start the recording button the first time to pointing the camera to my direction, because I was always pointing the camera to other side of myself. I was filming, so then now I'm filming, I'm taking picture of myself, taking video of myself, and then I'm talking to you, and I'm the one hosting this show.
Yeah.
So I think that I don't know if I could say.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
That makes me think, because I was thinking about doing a podcast, but then stroke, and then I thought, of course I want to do podcasts now that I can't talk, and so I thought, well, I'll get better over time.
Yeah.
Like what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I said, just go for it, and I'll get better over time.
Yeah, and then also like I think that'll be so inspiring to the people that like you were here today, and then maybe a year from now or like 2 years from now, like your English or like your speaking comes like a normal whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then people love progress. People love seeing what you're doing, and then also like I think that would be hypocrite for you to not start, because you're saying like you can you got inspiration from the people who are going through the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And if they're listening to what you're going through and then what your progresses are, I think that that's the best way to inspire other people. And I hope you start tomorrow, whenever the fastest, you know.
Yeah. My idea is to start the new year, have the show recorded. I think I'll do 3 shows or more before January, so I can just post them in January.
Yeah, see, like those 3 shows, nobody's gonna listen. Just put it out, you know. It doesn't matter. That's what I would say. But I'm excited that our path crossed, and I'm a big believer on things happen for a reason, and then I'm very, very grateful you came. And then, like I said, that we never met, but I think that that movie quality thing is the biggest thing I focus on for my job, and then like our video production company and advertising or even website, like we're in the quality business. And then some advertising agency go for like price and quotes, and that they don't care about quality, and then they put out like a shitty work, but we don't. So like it's just kind of that's something proud of. And then I think that I got inspired from that people, like you put it out that much quality that was so far from that student film, and then it can make something better, because a lot of times I think about it's like we're in Oklahoma, we're dealing with a small business. It doesn't have to be that good of a quality, but like I just think about that I have to make some things the best of the quality as possible. So
I know what you mean.
I'm very grateful for that. And then, so what your podcast will be called? Did you decide it, or?
Well, Team Spirit Art House. Team Spirit Art House.
Team Spirit Art House?
Yeah.
Cool.
Because the idea for me is religions are art houses. So, Christianity is an art house. It tells you we do this, we think this, and we sing this, and it's a way to think. So I want to start my own art house. Basically, kind of like producer, kind of, but also includes things like philosophy and morals and all that. So I'm not trying to say my religion is right. I'm saying that all religions are right. They all have their value. And so treat other people's religions the same value as yours. Don't diminish other people's stuff just because you think your stuff better. Be respectful of different cultures and religions.
For sure. I mean, you have to respect, and I'm big on the respect that, and then, yeah, totally. I mean, hopefully, you come back from a year or two from now, and then we can talk about this podcast, and then your podcast is famous and popular, and then my YouTube famous and popular, and then we just collab, and then we can talk about today's podcast, and then I think I hope we'll do this again. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So this was Be Frank Podcast, episode 11 with Shawn Barfield. See you guys next time, and please subscribe and comment every Friday. See ya.